Hello. This practice is focusing on the element of earth, and so with it the quality of grounding that comes with earth. So before we begin, I invite you just to take a moment and kind of notice the space that you are in, and can you notice where you see the element of earth in this room? Maybe it's the floor, the walls. You might have a view outside. In that case, you can see the earth, the trees, all of that solidness. And then also take a moment to kind of notice, where do you feel the element of earth in your body? So the solidness of your body, maybe notice how it's touching the earth right now. You can notice the bones and the heaviness of your skeleton. You can notice the clothes you're wearing. They have the element of earth in it. So when you notice earth outside of you and inside of you, sometimes that connects you to that quality of feeling grounded and rooted and just noticing. So from here, I'm going to invite you to come lie onto your back. So you're going to get comfortable. And as you start, let yourself bend your knees so your feet are flat on the floor, about hip distance apart. Letting your arms rest by your side, or if you'd like, you can rest them somewhere on your body. And now you can have your eyes open or closed, whatever helps you feel more comfortable in the space you're in and in your body. And just notice the parts of your body that are in contact with the earth. So notice the sensation of your feet on the floor, the hips, the pelvis, the parts along your spine that are in contact with your mat, perhaps the shoulder blades, parts of your arms, the back of your head. And as you feel these parts connect to the earth, can you notice the sensation of the earth touching these areas? Maybe even imagine feeling as if the earth is coming up to support you. Perhaps even visualizing, if you were lying on sand, how your body would make an imprint into that sand. And now we're going to intensify that kind of feeling of being connected to the earth with a little bit of pressure. So please bring your awareness down to your feet. And now can you take the soles of your feet and press them into the floor like you were pressing your feet into wet cement, making a footprint, and then let it relax. And do that a few times. Feel what it feels like to press, to root into the ground, and then to let go. And usually when you root, you feel that there's also a quality of something rises when something roots. Can you notice that? And notice where you feel rooting, where you feel rising. Let yourself play with this a couple more times. And then just rest and notice how things feel after that pressing sequence. And then I'm going to invite you to bring your awareness to your low back, your pelvis, your sacrum, which is a bone in between the two hips. And now as you exhale, can you pull your belly in a little bit so your low back imprints into the mat. So feel the low back connect to the earth a little bit more. And then as you inhale, let that go and feel yourself rock a little bit more towards the tailbone being in contact with the floor. And now you're going to go back and forth, exhaling, pressing the low back into the mat. Inhale, letting it release, letting it go. And as you rock back and forth, or top to bottom, notice what that weight shift feels like. Can you notice that sacrum bone kind of pouring up to the top, releasing down towards the tailbone? And then you're going to gradually let that go and just kind of find a nice resting position there. And now please glide your awareness up to your shoulder blades, your upper back area. And now you'll bring your arms down by your side, if you can, turning the palms up, or if that doesn't feel comfortable on your shoulders, you can turn your palms down. And from here, can you feel a sense of pressing your shoulder blades into the mat? Notice how the breastbone lifts a little bit, and then letting that go. And maybe moving with the rhythm of your breath, so that as you inhale, you press the shoulder blades into the earth, and then you release. And notice that a few times. Notice what lifts when you root down. Notice what releases. And then let that relax. Notice how things feel. And the last little exploration in this series is just notice the weight in the back of your head, the back of your skull. And imagine there's a breeze that comes along and blows the head so that it rotates to the right a little bit, like blowing your nose over to the right. And then on an inhale, let yourself bring your nose back to center. And then as you exhale, gently turn towards your left. Inhale back to center. And now moving with the rhythm of your breath, can you let your head rock from side to side? Noticing how the weight changes. Notice how the head connects to the earth. And letting it be gentle and easy, almost like you're pouring your head to one side, bringing it back to center, and then pouring it over to the other side. Letting it almost feel lazy and heavy as it goes from side to side. And then the next time that you find yourself into center, just rest there. Feel the brain relax towards the back of the skull relax into the earth. Enjoying a couple more breaths here. And now we're going to change our position, and we're going to come on to hands and knees. And so when you come onto hands and knees, if this feels uncomfortable directly on the knees, one thing you can do is you can always take something like a pillow or a blanket or a towel and use it for padding underneath your knees. Okay? So we're going to come onto hands and knees into this tabletop position. And before we start moving, can you really connect to earth, to your foundation? So can you feel your hands root into the ground? Maybe shift your weight a little bit through the knees and the hips and kind of find a place where you feel balanced and you can root through the lower legs. And now we're going to come into cow and cat. So on an inhale, you're going to arch your spine and look up. This is cow. And as you exhale, pull the belly in, round your back, drop your head into cat. And so moving with the rhythm of your breath, inhale, letting yourself arch into that cow pose, looking a little bit in front of you. And as you exhale, drawing the belly in, letting the gaze come down. The whole time while you're moving your spine, can you keep some of your awareness in your hands, in your knees, your feet, feeling that connection to the ground supporting you while you move your spine? We're going to move through this one more time, and then we're going to change it a little bit. And we're going to come into a pose called Chakravarkasana. We start with our hands, or in our cow position here on our hands and knees. And then as you exhale, you're going to pull your belly in, relax your head down, and sit yourself back towards child's pose. On your inhale, come back up into that cow. Start to take a little bit more weight into the hands. And then as you exhale, pull the belly in and feel the weight shift into your lower legs down towards your hips. And now let yourself play with this. You can make your movement a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller. But can you bring your attention to the weight shift? How you're moving forward, how you're flowing back. And notice how your foundation, your connection to the ground changes a little bit, but it's still there underneath you. And then the next time you find yourself going back, let yourself settle into your child's pose. And you can adjust your hands. You might like the feel of bringing your arms forward. You might like to bring your hands fist over fist underneath your forehead so your head can relax into that support. Or perhaps you're craving your hands coming down by your heels and just resting your head down on the ground. And now stay here. I'm just coming up so you can hear my voice a little bit better. But when you are in that child's pose, can you let yourself melt into the support of the ground? Feeling the parts of your body that are in contact with the earth. Letting them be supported. And as you are supported, can you enjoy maybe noticing your breath? Noticing the quality of expanding on the inhale, creating a little bit more room. And then the letting go that happens with that exhale. Please enjoy one more breath here in your child's pose. And then from here, we're going to come up onto hands and knees, and we're going to come into a low lunge. So you might want to come up onto your knees for a moment into a tall kneel, and then you can bring your right foot forward. Couple options. If you want, you could bring your hands down to the floor if your fingertips can touch. I'm going to actually use blocks though, I have short arms. And so this brings the floor up to you. And so you could use blocks. If you don't have yoga blocks, you can use some books or some things that have a little bit of height. Okay? And they can be whatever height you need them to be. And so we've got our right knee right over our heel. You're trying to avoid having your knee go beyond your toes. If you need to just crawl your foot forward to make that happen, go ahead. And now take a moment here, hands on the blocks or on the floor. And can you pull your lower belly in a little bit? Feel your front foot root down into the ground. Perhaps take a moment and look back at your back leg and notice what that part of your foundation is doing. If you can you have your back shin be parallel to the long end of your mat? Sometimes it might be turned in or turned out, and we don't know that until we check that out. So bringing that into center. And now you might want to stay here, hands down low. That has a particular quality, and that can be really grounding because you're closer down to the ground. But if you're feeling today like you'd like to lift it up a little bit, create a little bit more stretch sensation in the front of the left thigh, you could bring your hands onto that right thigh. Feeling this quality kind of zipping up your lower belly. And then you can stay here, hands rooting down onto the leg. Or if you would like, you can lift your arms up towards the ceiling. So whatever version you're exploring, see if you can keep with that quality of feeling grounded. Maybe imagine growing roots from the sole of your front foot down into the earth to help give you a little extra stability. Let yourself be here one more breath. And then we'll come down and we'll switch to the other side. So you're going to bring your right leg back. Let your left leg come forward. Okay, you're trying to square off your hips a little bit. Try to bring your left knee so that it's right over the heel but not beyond. Okay. And then see if on this side it feels better to have your hands up on props or down to the floor. Take a moment, look at your back leg. See that it's lined up as best as you can, never forcing anything. And then while you pull your lower belly in, you may choose to stay here, having your hands be a little closer to the earth. Or you may want to bring your hands onto your left thigh. Feeling the hands rest on the thigh. And then another option, if you'd like, is just to bring the arms up. Again, feeling a sense again of zipping the belly in a little bit. Try to relax the face. Sometimes finding a steady point to focus your gaze can help you feel balanced here. One more breath here. And then we're going to slowly come out. And what we're going to do is we're going to explore a toe stretch, although it may not be for everyone, so you can always skip this part if it is a little bit too intense. What will happen here is you're going to take your toes and tuck them under, and as best as you can, trying to have your ankle be neutral. Sometimes the ankles will sickle out or in, so you want to try to line them up a little bit. And then if you're just doing this and you want to be kind of tender to your feet or kind to your feet, you can kind of just explore this on hands and knees. Now the further you walk your hips back, the more intense this is going to be as there's more weight into the feet. So maybe you're here, or you can walk yourself back a little bit until you have the right amount of sensation for you. And you want to make sure that you can breathe into it. You could engage in conversation if you wanted to. If you're looking for a little bit more sensation, you can keep walking back, more moving in the direction of kneeling. And you can also play with spreading your toes out. And just breathing here. So our feet kind of touch the earth as we stand, as we walk. And so we're giving them a little bit of attention to help us ground a little bit. Okay. So we'll be here for another breath or two, although please feel free anytime. You can walk forward, you can walk back, you can kind of dial in and out of the intensity in a way that works for you. And then one more breath here. And then we're going to come off of the toes. Nice. Okay. And we're going to come briefly into kneeling. So I'm going to introduce a pose that is called Vajrasana. And when we do this, we're coming from tall kneel into a child's pose. Now, some ideas are, you may just bring your head right down to the floor, but for some of us that's a little bit too far, so you may find using a block will be useful, that you can rest your head here or a pillow. Okay, so we're going to come up tall on our knees, let your hands rest on your back, palms facing out, and so for Vajrasana, we're going to inhale, bring our arms up towards the ceiling, and then as you exhale, you pull your belly in around, kind of like that cat, and then come down into your child's pose shape, hands on your back. And you may need to move your block a little closer, like I did. And then we're going to inhale, root into the shins, let the arms reach up towards the ceiling. And then exhale, pull the belly and sweep the arms down and come down towards child's. Let yourself explore this a few more times, following the rhythm of your breath, inhaling up, exhaling down. And this can have a quality of just kind of bowing down towards the earth. So if that resonates with you, you can let that be part of your practice. And then the next time you're up, you'll stay in your tall kneeling, bring your arms down, and we're going to make a transition to standing. So you're going to clear your props out of the way. And then I'm going to invite you to join me in mountain pose, Tadasana. So you're going to come step with your feet about hip distance apart. As best you can, letting your toes face forward. Maybe just check, notice, is one foot a little bit more forward than the other or turned out? Just kind of becoming aware of what's going on. And then you can bring yourself into alignment if it's a little bit out of alignment. And now can you feel your feet into the earth? So similar to when we were lying down and you were imagining your feet were pressing in cement, can you do that here? Can you feel like you're making an imprint of your feet into the ground? And this is mountain pose, so maybe even imagine that your feet were like the base of a mountain and that you're bringing your feet down deep into the bedrock. Feeling that support, that depth. And now let yourself shift your weight a little bit. Kind of notice what it feels like to have your weight go forward when you start to feel a little bit off balance. And then shift your weight back towards your heels and feel that. And as you rock forward and back, notice where you feel most balanced today. And then can you slowly slow things down so you can settle into that. And then, like a mountain, keeping yourself rooted, can you also feel this quality of lifting your head up towards the sky, up into the clouds? So can you embody both feeling rooted and lifted at the same time? Nice. Okay. So now we're going to bring this into a little bit of movement and a little bit of challenge for your balance. I invite you to have fun. So we're going to bring our hands to our heart into Anjali Mudra. Feel the hands touch. Really take the time to feel the left hand touch the right touch the left. And then on your next inhale, you're going to sweep your arms out and up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, come back down. Let your hands come back to your heart. And now if you want, you can add a lift of the heels so that as you inhale, your arms reach up and you rise up onto the balls of your feet. Exhale, letting the arms come down, letting the heels come down. Hands rest to your heart. And so now you're going to move at the rhythm of your breath, which might be faster or slower than me. So honor that. The inhale carrying you up, the exhale bringing you down. And as you move, can you notice the weight shift on the earth, feeling yourself roll forward and then roll back onto your heels. Nice. And then the next time you find yourself up, see if you can stay there for a few breaths. Can you feel that sense of growing tall on your inhale? As you exhale, pulling your belly in to help support your back. Maybe as you inhale, feeling the ribs lift up off of the waist. And as you exhale, can you feel that sense of the balls of your feet rooting into the earth? And then when your next exhale comes along, let yourself bring your arms down. Let the heels come back down to the earth. Take a moment to appreciate the beauty of having 2 feet flat on the earth after you've challenged yourself by coming up onto the balls of the feet. And now from here, we're going to move into Warrior One. So on your mat, you're going to let yourself bring your right leg forward and your left leg back. Okay? And when you come into this position, your feet can be about hip distance apart. So kind of respect the width of your hips. We're going to go ahead and bend our right knee. And before we move our arms, see if you can feel really solid in your foundation. So can you feel yourself anchor your right heel down? Perhaps feel a quality of pushing that left heel back, like you're trying to push it back to the wall behind you. And then feeling solid in the hips. And then keeping this quality of grounding, you're going to invite your arms down by your hips. And on an inhale, sweep the arms up just as high as it feels comfortable on your shoulder today. And then as you exhale, let the arms come down. And we'll do that for 2 more breaths. Inhale to let the arms rise. Exhale to let the arms float down. And can you stay with that quality of feeling rooted even as you move through your arms? And then the next time you find your arms up, can you hold them there? And your up might just be forward. It might be overhead. So find that place that works for you. And while you reach through your fingers, the crown of your head, can you feel this quality of spreading your feet wide? Of feeling connected to the earth through your front foot, your back leg, letting the back leg be straight. Maybe notice if it starts to kind of deflate. Can you put some awareness in that back leg? And then on your next exhale, you'll invite the arms down. Go ahead and straighten that front leg. And now step your feet together. And I always like to, when I'm in between poses, kind of notice how it feels. You've done one side and not the other. What does that feel like in your body? Maybe also notice, are you wanting to hurry and get to the next side to find that balance? So just being aware of that tendency if it is arising. And so we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So you're going to step your right leg back, your left leg forward, trying to square the hips towards the front of your mat. And one thing is, if you feel like you step too far back, that you're pulling that back hip back, just bring it a little bit closer. It doesn't have to be a huge wide front to back stance. Okay, we're going to bend our front knee. Make sure that your knee is in line with, say, your second toe or the web space between the second and third toe. Feel the quality of pushing that right heel back behind you. And then if you would like, you are welcome to stay here if like the hands down is feeling particularly grounding today. And if you would like to move your arms, we're going to bring them down by our hips. On an inhale, let them sweep forward and up. And exhale, come down. And so again, can you stay rooted and grounded through your foundation as you invite movement into your body, into your experience? And then you're going to see, where would you like to place your arms to hold in this pose, in this warrior one? Is it low, middle, high? And notice what speaks to you today. Now can you take a few breaths here? Inhaling, feel this kind of quality of inflating the pose, of filling it out. And then as you exhale, can you connect to your center, maybe pulling your belly in, to your foundation, feeling the feet ground. Enjoy a few more breaths here. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring your arms down if you made that choice for them to go up. We're going to step that back leg underneath us and letting yourself rest in mountain. And notice what it feels like to be in mountain now. You've done both sides. You've done a few things. Has it changed? Just kind of checking in with that. So now we're going to come into chair pose or Utkatasana. And so you're going to come into mountain pose. Your legs are about hip distance apart. We're going to feel our feet in the ground. And then on an inhale, bringing your arms forward and up. As you exhale, sweep the arms down as you aim your hips back, like you're sitting in an imaginary chair. On an inhale, sweep the arms forward and up. Let the hips straighten. And we'll repeat that. Exhale, sit yourself back. Feel your weight go back into the heels. Inhale, root into the heels. Let yourself come forward and up. And now if this feels useful to you to kind of move in and out of this, stay with this if that's better on your joints. If you'd like to stay in the down sweep, we're going to let ourselves sit back, kind of come to that place where you feel work in the thighs but not strain in your knees. And now a few options are, you can have your hands just rest onto your thighs, kind of feel that weight. You could also bring your arms up into goal posts, and I'll just turn forward. So if you know you tend to round your back, this is a nice option to kind of open up the chest and strengthen your upper back. And then some of us might like reaching our arms forward at an angle. So you kind of experiment, see what arm rest position feels best for you. That matches the quality of what you need, rooting, opening, lifting. We're going to take one or two more breaths here. And then when your next inhale comes along, go ahead, sweep your arms forward and up, stand up tall, and exhale, let the arms relax. Nice. Okay. So we're going to come into a wide-legged posture. We're going to come into warrior two. So you're going to step your legs about a leg length apart, give or take. And then what we're going to do is we're going to turn our right foot out, and our left heel will kick out a little bit. Now when you do this, your left hip might spill forward a little bit. That is okay. So kind of let that naturally happen. You don't force it back necessarily. We're going to bend our front right knee. Check, make sure that it's in line with your second toe. It's not falling in, that you feel steady through your foot. And kind of like what we did with Warrior One, at least leg-wise, is can you feel steady? Maybe feel like you could spread the mat wide, pushing the legs out. And if today you want to keep your hands on your hips and feel that grounded quality through the legs, you can stay here. If you'd like to move the arms up a little bit, you can bring your hands to your heart. And then as you inhale, pushing out through the heels of the hands, feeling like you're pushing the walls away. And then as you exhale, come back to center. And we'll do this a couple more times. As you inhale, can you reach out and feel this quality of expanding in your body? And then exhale, still feeling open but connecting into center. Let's see if you can push equally left and right arms. And then the next time you find your arms out, if you're choosing this option, let them stay out. Palms facing down, and then you're going to look out over your right fingertips. Can you feel your legs? If you want, you can again spread the mat long with your feet. You can stay with both feet flat if that has a nice grounding quality. If you're wanting to challenge your balance a little bit, you could lift up on the ball of the right foot, but making sure you're not sickling your foot out as you do this, keeping a little bit more weight at the base of the big toe. One more breath here. And then you'll bring that heel down if you made that choice. Straighten the leg, bring the arms down. Turn your toes to the front. Maybe move your hips a little bit from side to side. Check in, notice how things feel. And then we're going to go over to the second side. So you're going to turn your left foot out, right foot in. Go ahead, bend that left knee, making sure it's tracking in line with your second toe or the webbing between the second and third toe. And now see if you'd like to stay right here, pressing your feet down and kind of pushing out, hands on your hips. If you'd like to do that movement with the arms, we're going to bring our hands again to our breastbone. And on an inhale, push out. And exhale, come back in. And maybe as you push out, can you feel that same kind of quality happening in your feet, in your legs? Can you feel this pulse? Even though you're staying solid in the legs, there's this fluidity in your upper body. And then the next time your arms are out, we're going to turn our palms down, look over the left fingertips, softening the face. And then check in. Today, do you feel that the quality of pushing into your feet flat feels good? If you want, you could also lift the heel of the left foot, but again, try to keep that ankle steady. Keep the weight at the base of the big toe. One more breath here. And then we'll bring our hands back in if they were out. Bring the heel down, straighten the leg, turn the toes forward. Okay, so we're going to come into fan pose, Pasarita Padottanasana. This is where we're going to bring our hands in the direction of the floor. Now, if bringing the floor to you is useful, this is where you would take your yoga blocks, your books, your support. You can bring them in front of you. And you can also bring your hands down to the floor. I'm going to use blocks. Okay? So your toes are facing forward. You've got your wide-legged stance. We'll bring our hands to our hip creases to start, just as a reminder to kind of, this is where we're going to be moving from. Not so much rounding our low back, but hinging from our hips. So you're going to inhale, get nice and tall. And then as you exhale, you can soften your knees a little bit. You're going to hinge from the hips. Fold forward. Now for some of us, we could even put our hands on our thighs, and maybe that's our range of motion today. And you can just ground through here if that feels best on your back and the back of your legs. If you feel like you want to hinge a little bit more forward, you can bring your hands down to your blocks. Or perhaps you find that you're bringing your hands more down to the floor. And then once you're there, play around with bending, straightening the knees to kind of find that Goldilocks just right. position that you feel a little bit of sensation in the backs of the legs, but you can breathe into it. You don't have to hold your breath to be here. And then once you're settled, maybe relax the weight of your head. Can you let your brain relax in the skull, relaxing the jaw, the tongue inside the mouth. And then on your next inhale, letting yourself reverse hinge up. You can always bring your hands back onto your thighs. Coming to stand tall. Heel toe the feet in together. And you're back and up. So our last standing pose is going to be balance pose. It's going to be tree pose. So you could always do this standing next to a wall, using that for support if that is useful, so that you can feel that quality of being rooted. You can also do it without the wall, and I'm just going to do it facing you. So you're going to shift your weight over into your right foot. Feel the heel root down, and maybe even feel the side of your right hip engage a little bit because you're rooting so far down. Then slightly unweight your left heel. And maybe today you stay here. Okay? If you would like to turn the leg out, you could turn that left leg out a little bit. Again, you can keep the ball of your foot down if that stability feels really useful to you. If you want to try to bring that leg up a little bit, you could slide it into the ankle of the left, or excuse me, of your right leg. And then you can bring the foot to your calf, your inner thigh. Now be careful, you want to avoid sagging your right hip out. You want to kind of feel like it is tucking in underneath you. And then from here, your hands could be on your hips, to your heart. You could reach out. You could reach up. So whatever tree pose you choose, and each tree is different, see if you can feel a quality of feeling rooted, of sending your roots down into the center of the earth. But then can you also have a little softness in the upper body so that you can respond to the breezes? And so can you embody both of those qualities of a tree? Being rooted, but also able to go with the flow a little bit. One more breath here. And then we're going to slowly lower everything down. Reconnect to your feet both on the earth. And then we're going to shift to the second side. So shifting your weight over to the left. Maybe unweighting the right heel. You could stay here. You could turn the right knee out. You could bring your foot to your ankle, lower leg, inner thigh. Just be careful not to put it right on the knee joint. You want to go either above or below. And again, watch for the hips sagging out. Again, rooting that left foot down, especially in front of the heel, can help with that. And then experiment. Do you want to have your hands on your hips today? How's that feel? Hands at your chest, out, up towards the sky. And again, can you feel rooted through the foot, through the leg? Can you also feel a quality of softness in your upper body? Maybe try to relax your shoulders a little bit, your face. Let yourself enjoy one more breath here. And then on your next exhale, let the arms come down, leg comes down, and come into your last mountain for this practice. Can you feel that quality of being rooted into the bedrock and rising towards the sky? And now we're going to come down onto the floor. We're going to come back to that hands and knees position. So again, if you want to bring your blanket back, please feel free to pad your knees. And we're going to come back into that Chakravarkasana, but I'm going to add a variation that if you would like to bring downward facing dog in the practice, you can, but you don't have to. So we'll all start hands into the ground, feet comfortably into the floor. We're going to inhale, arch our spine into cow. And then as you exhale, pull the belly in, lower yourself down. Inhale to rise, and exhale to lower down. Now you can stay with this flow, or you can add downward facing dog by as you inhale, arching. As you exhale, tuck the toes under and come back into your downward facing dog. On an inhale, let the knees come back down to the floor. And then exhale, come back down into child's. So we're going to inhale, arch. If you'd like to, either come into downward facing dog or just repeat going into child's. On your inhale, you come back onto your hands and knees and into that cow. And exhale, coming back down to child's. So go through this flow one more time, whichever version is going to work for you best in this particular moment. Some days you'll want to do downward facing dog. Some days you may just want to stay with going back into child's. Then the next time you're in child's, let yourself rest there. Again, your arms could be forward. You could bring your hands underneath your forehead. Rest your head here. Or perhaps your hands are coming down by your feet. Remember, you can always use also a block, like what we did with our kneeling position before. And bringing the floor of the earth to you is particularly nice. Give yourself that gift. You're going to enjoy one more breath here. And then we're going to come down onto our bellies. And so you might lie directly flat on your belly. Sometimes people like having a blanket underneath their pelvis for a little bit of support, so that's an option. I'm going to move it out of the way for me. And so we're going to come into a variation of cobra pose. So go ahead and kind of rock your hips a little bit from side to side. Let the belly relax into the floor. We've got a new foundation. It's our front body now. Let your head just rest onto your arms for a moment and just notice what it feels like to rest your belly on the earth. Notice how the belly may move into the mat as you inhale a little bit more. As you exhale, your belly may lift up a little bit more in towards you. And sometimes just this can feel pretty grounding. We spend most of our day presenting our front body to the world. It can be quieting to let that front body be soft into the earth. So now for Cobra, a couple options for your arms. You could bring your hands kind of about shoulder level, and your elbows could be lifted. And then you could also slide your arms forward, bringing your forearms down. So notice what's going to feel better on your neck and shoulders, to have the elbows back, to have them slid forward. And then we've got our feet about hip distance apart. We're going to turn our head to the left. Let the tops of your feet root down. You're going to pull your lower belly in so you've got a foundation to support your back. And then on your next inhale, lift the head up. Pull the shoulder blades back and only come as high as you can lift with the strength of your back. So you could lift your arms and still be here. Then when your next exhale comes along, we're going to lower our head, turning to the right. And now we're going to move with the rhythm of our breath. Inhale, come up. Exhale, turn, look left, and come down. So you inhale to rise, feeling like the crown of the head is moving forward. Exhale, you turn your head to the right and lower down. Let yourself do this sequence one more time. And as you lift, can you feel the tops of your feet root down to the ground? And then let yourself come up, center your head, kind of bring your hands back underneath your forehead, and rest your head down. Now you can look down. I'm just turning sideways so you can hear me a little bit better. But from here, maybe imagine you were like on a raft, and you're just letting your hips sway from side to side, feeling the current underneath you. And can you see if that gentle little rocking helps you relax a little bit more down into the floor? Let yourself enjoy one more breath here. And now I'm going to offer a core strengthener, building forearm plank. If you prefer just to rest here, honor that. If you'd like to come up, we're going to start by coming up into what is often called Sphinx, where your elbows are right underneath your shoulders. And you can either have your palms face down, or perhaps you interlace your hands and make a little kind of triangle in front of you. Kind of experiment with that. And at first, just pull the heels of the hands towards your heart. It almost feels like you could pull forward on your mat. If you would like, you can stay here. If you want to engage the abs a little bit, think of your front lower ribs pulling in a little bit. And then as you do that, your gaze is going to be down on the mat. Maybe this is enough, because this has a nice quality of feeling your forearms root into the ground, into the earth. If you want to lift up more, you pull the belly in so much that the pelvis starts to lift and hover. You can stay with the knees down, or you may like tucking the toes under, reaching out through the heels, lifting the knees, and coming into your forearm plank. With each inhale, can you feel like the crown of the head is moving forward? With each exhale, pulling the lower belly, the lower ribs in. And then on your next inhale, slowly lower down. Pass through that Sphinx. Let yourself lower for a breath or two, back down onto your belly. Can you again let the earth support you after you spent a little time kind of pushing away from it? Let yourself receive it. And then from here, we're going to roll onto our backs. And you may want to just kind of pause in what is often referred to as partial recline with your knees bent. Or if it feels like a counter stretch would feel good for your back, we're going to come into knees to chest, or Apanasana, where you bring your hands onto your kneecaps. And then as you exhale, you pull your belly in and pull the knees in. Feel how that flattens your low back into the earth. And then as you inhale, you push the knees away. So we're going to exhale, hug the belly in, or hug the knees in towards the belly. And then inhale, reach out. One more pass through here. Notice how the back changes in its relationship to the floor when you move. And then we're going to bring our feet down to the floor. Let yourself bring your arms by your side. And we're going to come into bridge pose. So we'll start with pelvic tilts, and you can stay here if it feels really good, or if you have a sensitive back and you know coming up into bridges is going to feel good, you can also stay here. Okay, it's the seed of what we're doing. So on an exhale, you pull your belly in, you flatten the back into the floor, maybe push your feet into the floor a bit, and then as you inhale, release the low back. And we'll do that one more time. Exhale, pull the belly in, flatten the back. Inhale, let yourself release. Now, if you'd like to come into dynamic bridge, what we'll do is you're going to inhale, push into your feet, lift the pelvis, and maybe you just come up a little bit, or maybe you roll up mid-back, upper back, towards the shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, can you lower down, upper back, mid-back, low back, tailbone. And now do that for a few rounds, your own rhythm of breath. Inhaling, rolling up, see if you can feel the spine, the pelvis lift the floor or from the floor. And as you come down, can you come down one vertebrae at a time? Now as you're doing this rolling up and down, if you notice that the movement's feeling really good, creating a little bit more mobility in your spine, you can stay with this. If you would like to hold it though, and kind of explore building endurance, the next time that you are up, and again, it could be low, it could be middle, it could be high, it's all strengthening. You can stay there. Wherever you choose to be, can you root your feet into the floor? Maybe feel the shoulder blades do that pressing motion from the beginning of class. Perhaps with each inhale, imagine that you had strings on the pelvis, kind of being pulled up to the ceiling. And as you exhale, reconnect, drawing your belly inward to support your back. Please enjoy one more breath here. And then as you exhale, slowly come down, one vertebrae at a time. Nice. Now you can stay here, you can hug both knees again in towards your chest, and this time for a variation of Apanasana, you can rock from side to side. And notice how that feels as you move to the left, to the right, how the weight spills from one side to the other. Then we'll bring our feet down to the floor. Now in the bridge we were working our hamstring muscle, now we're going to stretch it. Some of us will just use our hands, and some of us are going to prefer to use a yoga strap, or you could use a bathrobe strap. I'm going to show with the strap here. What you're going to do is hug your right knee in towards your chest. You might choose just to hold behind the knee, or if you would like, you could use a strap around the ball of the foot. And what we'll do is on an inhale, stretch that right leg up towards the ceiling, and then just pause it when you start to feel the sensation of a stretch along the back of the leg. If you're holding behind the leg, you could hold behind the thigh. You might have the range to hold onto the back of the calf, or maybe you can hold on to the foot. Okay? So from here, you can pull the toes towards your shin. That's going to get more of your calf muscle. If you're using a strap, one of the nice things you can do is, if it's got length, is you can slide down so your arms can relax and you don't have to tense your shoulders to hold on to it. And now you're welcome to stay here, left foot or left knee bent, foot on the floor. Or you could also explore, what does it feel like if the left leg is straight on the mat? Now if there's strain in the back, the front of the hip with the straight leg, you may want to just choose to have that knee bent and let that be a little bit more restful. We're going to spend one more breath here. And then you're going to fold the right knee in, bring it down, and then we'll come over to the second side. So you could hold behind the left thigh, you could bring a strap around the ball of the foot, again, see what kind of works. It might be different on the side. All right, and then you're just going to extend that leg until you just feel that gentle stretch behind the leg. You could pull the toes towards your shin if that is useful. If that's too intense, you can always soften that. You have that choice. And then right leg, maybe you like the feeling of the foot flat on the floor, making an imprint. Maybe the leg out stretched straight makes a little bit more sense in your body today. See if you can soften the upper body. The more you can relax the upper body, the more the message gets to the leg that it too could relax. Let yourself be with this for another breath or so. And then when it feels time to come on out, go ahead, bend your knee. You can hug both knees in again. This time I'll offer, you can do a little circular massage for your back. You can bring your hands onto your kneecaps, glue your legs together as if they are one, and you're going to circle around. And this massages the sacrum. Sometimes that can feel really grounding for the low back. And then we're going to come around in the other direction. Nice. So we're going to bring our feet down to the floor. We're going to come into windshield wipers as a way to get into a twist. So your feet are wider than hip distance apart. You turn your toes out a little bit. Now, you can bring your arms out to your side. What I like to do is I kind of start at about shoulder height, but on different days, it's going to feel better to bring my hands down a little bit. Other days, it might feel better to be up a little bit higher. Also, be mindful, does it feel better to have palms up or palms down at the height you're choosing? And then you're going to think of your knees like windshield wipers. On an exhale, let your knees drop over to one side. On an inhale, come back to center. And exhale, let the knees drop over to the other side. And following your breath, inhale, lift, exhale, lower. As you lower, can they have a quality of kind of surrendering down into the floor? And just kind of notice, how does the weight move or spill from your back to your hips, through your legs, your feet? How does your sensation with the earth change as your shape changes? Then the next time you find your knees over to one side, maybe you'd like to stay with the legs wide. That feels like a good twist. You may want to shift your hips a little bit and then kind of stack your top leg over your bottom leg. Others may want to cross the top leg over the bottom leg, but make sure it doesn't feel like an uncomfortable torque in your back or your knee. And then another thing you can do while you're here is if it feels like your legs are rather unsupported, you can take a blanket, a yoga block, bring the earth to you, and let them rest on a prop. Because sometimes the body relaxes more when it has that sensation of earth right underneath it. And then you can choose, do you want to have your nose up towards the ceiling? Do you want to rock your head a little bit from side to side like we did before, feeling the weight of the head on the floor? And then maybe that rocking kind of your head lands in a place that just feels like a really good stretch. It might be looking away from the knees. So really find what serves you in this particular moment. Enjoy a few more breaths here. And then on your next inhale, you're going to bring your knees back up. Take a moment in that centered shape. And then you're going to widen your feet. You're going to windshield wiper to the second side. Maybe you'd like to stay there with the legs wide. You could also scoot your hips a little bit, kind of to a place that feels comfortable for you. And then you could take your top leg, bring it over your bottom leg. You could cross your top leg over the bottom leg. You can give yourself support. Let the legs rest onto that support. And then bringing your awareness to the head. Does it feel perfect where it's at? Do you want to explore rocking the weight side to side? As you rock from side to side, do you find a really nice place that your body asks you to pause? If so, follow your body's intuition, relax into it. Can you enjoy that quality of the expansion on the inhale? The letting go as you exhale. One more breath here. And then as you inhale, bringing yourself back into center. Center your body. And you could have your arms by your side, or maybe you like bringing them to your center, your belly, or maybe one on your chest and one on your belly. And as you rest here, reconnect to this feeling of your back body being supported by the earth. Can you let it support you? Maybe notice if there's places that are gripping. Can you bring your awareness there? See if that awareness helps soften it. Let yourself spend another couple moments here. And now we will be transitioning into Shavasana, into a relaxation. So you may want to just stay kind of in this partial reclined shape, knees bent. You could also knock your knees in a little bit. You may have a body that is comfortable stretching the body out long. This may not feel comfortable on your back. If that's the case, something that can help is if you place something underneath your knees. It could be a pillow, it could be a rolled up blanket, it could be a bolster if you have that. But letting yourself find a place where you truly feel supported. Now when we relax, we tend to also cool, so if you want, you can put a blanket over you and just let yourself soften into relaxation.
As you settle into Shavasana, into relaxation, allow yourself to be supported by the earth beneath you. Invite your awareness down into your feet, letting the toes relax, the tops of the feet, the soles of the feet, heels, letting the ankles be heavy. Feel the shins relax down into the calves, inviting the calves to relax into the floor, softening through the knees, the fronts of the thighs, the backs of the legs, relaxing the hips, the buttocks, the pelvis, inviting the belly to relax, the low back to soften, relaxing the waist, the chest, the ribs, the lungs, the heart, relaxing the upper back, the shoulders, upper arms, front and back, elbows, forearms, wrist, palms of the hands, backs of the hands, fingers and thumbs, softening through the neck and the throat, the inside of the mouth, the lips, jaw, the ears, cheeks, nose, the eyes, the eyelids, eyebrows, temples, space between the eyebrows, forehead, back of the head, crown of the head. Invite your whole body to relax. Invite your whole being to relax into the support of the earth beneath you. Now please give yourself the gift of resting here as long as you would like.